All right, everybody, welcome to 6 Steps to Get Modern and Live There. My name's Aaron Powell. So today we're going to be talking about your company, not only modernizing your IT, but creating a culture that stays modern. And to kick this discussion off, we're going to start with a story that goes back 130 years to the year 1886 in a town called North Redwood, Minnesota. In that town, there lived a railway station agent named Richard. Richard had a big idea when a refused shipment of watches arrived at his station. After trying to figure out what to do with the load of unwanted watches, he figured he could sell the watches himself thanks to the latest breakthrough in technology, the railway. Selling those watches to his fellow station agents up and down the line, Richard made a nice profit. Such a nice profit, in fact, that he decided to start a watch company in Minneapolis, which he called the R.W. Sears Watch Company. Eventually, Richard moved beyond watches and started selling just about anything people could want across rural America, which at that time made up 65% of the national population. Sears customers subscribed to receive a catalog and were able to have those goods delivered at the speed of the iron horse. Richard was a railway station agent with a problem, and 8 years later, he had a 322-page catalog in the hands of customers across the country who were purchasing merchandise worth millions in today's dollars.
All right, let's fast forward 100 years to 1994. There's a former Wall Street hedge fund exec named Jeff. Jeff thought he could sell books more efficiently than bookstores by utilizing the latest breakthrough in technology, the internet. Now, as we know, Jeff's business has grown to sell just about anything a retail consumer could want. All they need is a connection to the internet. Now, Jeff's customers get their catalog delivered at the speed of light, and most of the goods they purchase are delivered right to their doorstep within 24 hours. As Jeff's little company grew, it effectively pushed the R.W. Sears Company out of the world of commerce and into the history books, as Sears declared bankruptcy 1 year ago yesterday.
So today we're going to be talking about your company, not only modernizing your IT, but creating a culture that stays modern. The parallels between Sears and Bezos are striking, but the question we should be asking is, why didn't Sears capitalize on the same technology that Bezos did? To many companies, modernization looks like purchasing new software or hardware today to replace yesterday's well-expired technology. You know, disrupting your business while you try and learn how to get similar results as you were getting from the old technology. Well, we're going to talk about breaking out of that cycle of continuous catch-up and getting your business to continuous technological leadership.
So why are the two of us talking about this? My name is Tom Hallstrom, and I am one of the client development directors here at Blueprint, and I lead our modern workplace practice. About 20 years ago, I started out as a lit major, hoping to be a professor at the University of Washington, and I ended up unexpectedly in tech. I was asked by a local Seattle law firm to step in and bring some structure and order to their pro bono document management system. And back then, I really didn't have much experience in the world of technology. And what that forced me to do is, by day, ask a lot of questions to find out, what are the outcomes you're searching for? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the business need here? Get the customer to do most of the talking. And then at night, I would go home and study up on the tech. And what that did is set me up and really pushing hard to make sure that the tech is always serving the business and not the other way around. Common theme in any of my client projects for the last 20 some years, bringing order to informational chaos and making sure that things are in the right order.
And I'm Aaron Powell, and I'm truly passionate about finding how technology can be leveraged to give anyone more time to focus on their business, time to focus on their customers, but most importantly, time to focus on your own family. As a lifetime Seattleite, I've worked in and around the technology industry for most of my career. From being able to be a fly on the wall, running a microphone for Steve Ballmer at Microsoft Tech Summits, to pushing carts of desktops across campuses in the middle of the night to fulfill lifecycle management goals, and then finally being able to manage enterprise teams and programs in order to realize the promise of the new shiny tool. I've heard and felt where the experience doesn't quite meet the sales pitch, but I've also experienced where it does.
And a small fact, fun fact, Aaron and I have known each other since we were kids. We were in each other's weddings, played in bands together.
We played in bands for weddings together.
Yes, triumvirate. And this is the first year that our professional paths have crossed, but it's pretty cool to be presenting this information together to you. So let's get started. Step 1, know thyself. No one knows you like you do. You know your strengths and you know your weaknesses. This is true for individuals and organizations. We're usually pretty good about celebrating and hopefully honing our strengths, but we also need to be honest about our weaknesses. You need to learn to love them because those weaknesses are problems that are hiding big opportunities for your organization. There are underlying reasons why you're successful, why your talent chooses to stay with you, why your customers choose to stay with you. And there's also underlying reasons why you're doing things ineffectively or inefficiently or maybe even completely wrong. But it's not till you take a moment to step out from underneath the tyranny of the urgent and perform a self-assessment that you're going to be able to identify and recognize what those underlying causes are.
And that said, we are also blind to our own weaknesses. In this sense, inviting an objective and trusted partner from the outside to also perform an assessment can help provide insights and a perspective. One thing you need to make sure you know about yourself is TCO, total cost of ownership. Total cost of ownership looks much deeper than just the line items on the ledger, but at everything that comes along with the assets in your environment. Take your workforce TCO. It's not just about payroll and insurance. What about your employees' commute time? You're paying for the gas in their cars. How far do they walk to get to the campus? How much are they spending on food around the area or on the campus? What's their employee satisfaction level? Why? Conversely, how does production compare between remote workers relative to your on-campus workers? And how about the training for both of those groups? And there's a lot of more questions you can ask about your workforce TCO, but the important thing is you need to be honest about it and don't worry about the problems. There's no sacred cows. Don't identify your initiative by the tool, but by the outcome your organization needs. So do you need more remote? Do you need more people on campus? Be honest. Be willing to have other people look at what your environment looks like.
And when you recognize truly what your total cost of ownership is, you can identify where you can safely reduce it and thereby gain competitive advantage.
Exactly.
So what does this principle actually look like? Really, it's taking a day with your leaders, get off site, get out of the building, and take stock of where you're at. And make sure you document it and document it well. Oftentimes bringing along someone who can be the focused note taker so that you can have open discussion is really helpful. And then invite a trusted partner to come in and do the same and give them your in-house report as a starting point. If we bring this back to Richard W. Sears, we think of Sears. Sears is the entrepreneur, the train is the technology, the watch is the product. As a station agent, Richard knew the railways. He didn't know much about watches, but as we're about to find out, he didn't need to. Step 2, use your words. Use your words. In the world of technology, it is easy to get caught up in the lingo bingo. Technology is moving so fast, you're trying to keep up and trying to compress large ideas and concepts into these little phrases we can shoehorn into our conversations. You find yourself starting to use words you don't even understand what they mean. And for me, as a lit major in tech, I really care about the words we use and get a lot of joy and satisfaction when the right word is used. One of my favorite authors, Mr. Samuel Langhorne Clemens. He has a phrase. He says, the difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and the lightning bug. And that is certainly true when it comes to technology and you start using words, A, that you don't mean, B, that you don't fully understand, and C, that don't resonate with your users. If the words don't work for you, don't use those phrases. Use your own. When you're suggesting or pitching a new idea, how do we introduce new technology? How do we modernize? You're not just pitching to the people who are paying for it. You have an entire organization of users who need to be bought in to the idea and understand the value. So it shouldn't lead with the technology. Don't identify by the tool, identify by the desired outcome. It's not a SharePoint project, it's records management. And when you start using the right language, you can sell the right outcome. And that brings us back to the tech and the vocabulary serving the business, not the other way around. And before you go, Aaron, my second favorite Mark Twain quote is, don't use a $5 word when a 50-cent word will do. When a 50-cent word will do.
Perfect. Any of these phrases can and should be converted to your culture's language before they can truly be leveraged. If you've not converted the buzzword to how it applies to your business model, don't worry about it. Not everything is going to work for your company. Your shiny new tools will have little to do with your business initiatives if you don't really understand what it's for and how it applies to you. Well, not even so much how it applies to your business, but how your business can use that tool.
Even the word modernize, I feel like it's like getting cool. You might arrive, but it'll last a few seconds. The idea of, what are you aiming for? Getting to a target of modernization, that's not really the goal you're going for.
Yeah, anyone who sets out to get cool never arrives. Don't start.
Trust us, we know.
So let's look at Sears. He didn't leverage the train just to do it. He used it for a purpose. He saw how it could be applied. Technology is your vehicle to enable your business to take advantage of opportunities. Are you moving to the cloud? Well, kind of. But let's know what that means to your business and to your customer. All right, and that brings us to step 3. I mentioned your business taking advantage of opportunities. And the way you take advantage of opportunities is by reclassifying your problems as opportunities. Start using those two words interchangeably. Everyone around campus should start using problem and opportunity interchangeably. Become annoyingly optimistic about your problems and how you're going to leverage them into opportunities. Those willing to work the problem instead of turning away from the challenge of change are the ones who find lasting success. Sears didn't take advantage of the technology that was available when Bezos did. That's the big difference between the two. So what are some opportunities you might have that are masquerading as problems now? That could be, I don't know what my customer wants. I don't know why they choose us, and I don't know why they choose my competitors. Or maybe our best engineer just left. How are we going to replace her? Another one could be, we have outgrown our facility, and commercial real estate is prohibitively expensive these days. In the end, you will find that there's no problem that is entirely unique to your business, and there's partners ready to help you. So remember, Sears took a problem, an apparently unsellable shipment of watches, he added technology, and he sold them.
Step 4. Now that you've prepared yourself, you've readied your organization, now you need to aim. Aaron and I have known each other for many years, and we've watched each other have a lot of big ideas. Some of them have come to fruition, some haven't. When they don't, this is what we like to remind each other of. Don't do this. Take the time once you've prepared yourself to really figure out what you're aiming for. It's easy after the labor of preparation to instantly want to jump in and solve the problem. But what you need to do is not get ahead of yourself and figure out what your goal is. So by this point, you've identified your strengths and weaknesses. You've taken the time to know how to accurately talk about them. You're seeing opportunities where you used to see problems. So what should you aim for? Well, partners. More specifically, successful relationships with the right partners. Now, bear in mind, your partners are not going to define your success. They can certainly enable it, but they don't define it. You have to take the time to do that.
That's right. Now, as you migrate to services, many assume that this means the talent that you currently have will become obsolete. This is not true. Talent is talent. Some of these are cloud architect. As the CIO and the CEO create strategy, the need for a master plan for how the services work well with each other and your internal IT becomes paramount. Nobody migrates to the cloud in one day. And if they do, it doesn't go well. That's why you need someone who can actually come up with a good strategy for migrating to the cloud. How are you going to migrate to the cloud? Are you going to be cloud first? Are you going to be cloud or bust? What are you going to replace first? What actually makes sense for you? A lot of those partners are out there trying to sell you something because they've got big ideas too. And you need somebody who can defense your business plan from just a good sales tactic.
Yeah, that's the goal. Moving to the cloud is not necessarily the right goal. That's not an outcome for your business. You could be doing the exact same inefficiencies on-prem as you are in the cloud. So making sure that you're not just buying a partner who's selling you tech to get to the cloud, it's knowing how to leverage existing tech to accomplish the outcome that you're going for.
Your talent needs to have the skill of technology integration, technology procurement. These are roles that you can see on Indeed and Monster today. But again, these are just functions. Inspired by a business's vision, they procure and integrate tools that allow your business plan to shine. The tools shouldn't weigh your organization down, but free it up, getting you to market faster and equipped with the freshest information. You'll also need SMEs, subject matter experts, for the technologies that replace or augment your on-prem environment. Your subject matter experts will not just be subject matter experts of a specific tool. They will be subject matter experts of an idea of your business plan combined with technology. That way you can move from tool to tool and find the one that works best for you. You're also going to need tech to business liaisons or tech ambassadors. As the variety of outcome-based services increase, your business can gain competitive advantage being well-versed in how to make the tools work for them through every iteration of that tool. That happens when the business, not necessarily tech savvy, understands how to use the tool well. We're going to hear stories about how great technology was not applied in a real world situation. So even though the technology worked, it didn't really amount to anything because the business didn't understand how to use it. So take away this: technology doesn't stand still, neither should your training.
I want to add about those roles or really functions. These don't all have to be filled in-house. These are necessary roles for success, but they can be filled in-house, or they could be filled by a partner. And understanding the value of the role, then when you're assessing potential partners, you're able to see, do we have this skill set for someone to step in and be an integration specialist, or do we need to outsource that? Where do you need to staff your weakness? According to Forrester, more than 50% of digital transformation efforts in 2018 either failed or stalled. And it was understood generally to be because just the sheer size and scope of the kind of effort that they were trying to accomplish. So I've been part of large scale projects and tiny little, 1 and 2 week projects. And what I found is while it's feasible, it is very disruptive to go to an entire department and say, we are moving, for example, to Office 365 or M365, Microsoft 365. We are changing out your search experience. We are getting rid of file shares. We're moving to OneDrive and SharePoint as our document management system. We're changing our workflow, automated workflow engine, how we digitally sign contracts, how we engage with suppliers. We're overhauling all of it. We're going to the cloud. And that can be incredibly disruptive because you're shoving them off the pier into the water, and really there's nowhere for them to stand in the interim. And what I've found is much more successful is to identify specific, high impact, high frustration use cases and build little beachheads of innovation around those use cases. Find people who are early adopters, curious, willing to experiment, willing to tinker, and turn them into your champions, convert them, and start small. Don't despise small beginnings. A great example of this is years ago, I was with the federal courthouse, a federal courthouse, and we were overhauling the entire document management system and workflow to SharePoint and the Office suite. And as I was looking for some of these small use cases, I found that there was a 3-ring binder. It was probably 4 or 5 inches thick, and it was used to schedule certain events in a particular courtroom for a particular type of judge. And that notebook was the single point of truth. And if you needed to schedule something and you didn't have the notebook, you had to wait till court was out of session. If you were curious if a particular person was available 2 weeks out, you again had to wait until that physical notebook got into your hands. So I thought, aha, this is it. This is my beachhead. And I built a tool to solve that problem. And no one used it. No one wanted to use it. No one believed in it. And regardless of the quality of my training, there wasn't buy-in. And I realized that's because they were not involved. The users were not involved in the process. So I changed my tactic and identified one of those early adopters. And in this case, this was someone who she was self-professed, not a techie, kind of scared about changing the way she'd always done things, but was willing to experiment and was curious. And within about a month, she had built on her own a no-code calendaring solution with role-based access for different audiences and scheduling notification and automation all on her own within the SharePoint ecosystem. And when she did that, she presented it to her team. The team was in, and they started using this tool that's still in use to this day. So I strongly believe start small and identify allies and champions to help you with this. If this is purely an IT-sponsored initiative or even an outside supplier coming in to change the way your team does business, it is often doomed for failure. So the last thing I want to say about this is just while you're aiming, think about what is success going to look like. What's it going to look like for your employees? What's it going to look like for your customers? And what's it going to look like for your partnerships? As I've said, the goal is not migrating to O365 or migrating to the cloud. It's accelerating your onboarding process. It's retaining good talent. It's increasing the findability of your content. And I want to say, as we're going through these rules, these are not guaranteed that you are going to succeed, but we do know that the folks who do succeed do follow these.
Yes. So,
or at least a version of these.
A version of these steps. I hope you're hearing the themes within the steps. It's you can't write down how to be cool. You can't just be cool. It's something that happens naturally for some, I've heard.
All right, step 5.
Get by with a little help from your friends. You got Joe Cocker there because you need to have Joe Cocker there. Partnerships are the point. Great technology is secondary. The hottest tech that everyone's talking about is not what you're looking for. You're looking for partners who will go with you for the long haul. The solution doesn't come in a box for you to unwrap and then just be done with. Don't unleash great technology on your business. That's very similar to a virus. It slows you down. It makes your data subject to lack of integrity and availability, and your people don't know how to use it. What you need is partnerships and people who are going to apply technology to your business plan. And again, that's just going to happen with people engaging in what you're doing.
You're probably familiar with the Archimedes quote, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." I don't think it's hyperbole to say Jeff Bezos used the lever of the internet, of the technology that he had. He leveraged intelligent partnerships, and he truly moved the world of commerce. You know, when we talk about inviting partners into your world, it's easy for fear to creep in. And I just want to stress that this is not about losing control or governance. This is about ditching your baggage so you can run faster. Ed Catmull, co-founder of Pixar along with Steve Jobs, has a great memoir called Creativity Inc. about the founding of Pixar and his journey. And he said one of his revelations was that you can have a good idea and have it make money. You can have a good idea and it's not the right time, it doesn't make money. You can have bad ideas that make good money, bad ideas that go bust. The value really isn't in the idea. And he arrived at this as they ran through story ideas for Pixar films. The value is not necessarily in the idea. The real value is in the partnerships, because the partnerships are where the ideas come from. So when you think of good partnerships, they're built on trust, where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A good way to find a good partner is start paying attention to everything. Here at Blueprint, we like to say, always be pitching. You're always pitching. Whether this webcast is a pitch, following up, doing what you said you're going to do, sending that article you found, showing up on time to your meeting, that is all you pitching. And when during step one, if you invite outside folks to come in and take a look at your org, provide an assessment, have conversations with, take a look at how they operate, the language that they use, how they integrate into your culture, and what they inspire in you. One of my favorite musicians, Mr. Tom Waits, he says, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I strongly believe that about partners. It's the details, not just the deliverables. And it's those partnerships you're building, you're staffing your weakness with those service providers, and they're going to help you succeed. You know, here at Blueprint, we've had the privilege of working with some clients for many years, some since our founding. And what's cool to watch, and I've experienced this personally, is we have some where it started maybe as a 1-week assessment, and the client wasn't really ready to implement the changes we suggested. I've gotten phone calls, 2 years later saying, hey, we found your assessment in a drawer and what you predicted would happen in our org, it happened, and now we're ready to move on it. Can we re-engage? There's been other times where the client strategic consultant relationship has come to an end because we've taught them how to fish. They can do it on their own. And it's progressed for multiple folks here at Blueprint into board work or volunteering opportunities to support the mission of these organizations. So adaptability really is key. Keep your eyes on the long term rather than just the short term, the long game. Because it's not just about that transaction or that immediate engagement. It really is about a long-term partnership and relationship. And if you have the flexibility and the open hand to allow it to change, it can become far more valuable than you ever expected. So did Richard W. Sears decide to become a watchmaker and buy watch repair tools? No. He found himself Mr. Alva Curtis Roebuck. He found himself a partner. So let's bring it home. Step 6, OODA. Or modernize forever. If you've gone through these first 5 steps, if your company has truly adopted the interchangeability of problem and opportunity, then step 6 is going to become habitual. If you've realized the success that you defined, then you're ready to start again at the beginning, find new opportunities to solve, and leverage your partnerships. So what is OODA? It's a framework developed by a United States Air Force colonel named John Boyd for combat operations. And it's pretty simple. Observe, see what's going on around you, orient yourself in the situation, make a decision, and then act on it. And that is an easy mnemonic to describe this whole journey we're describing, but it's also a loop. Once you get to the end, start over. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Bezos OODA'd. Sears did not. So how does one OODA? Well, you regularly need to recalibrate. And what are you calibrating against? You need to know your business metrics. What are the outcomes that you're aiming for? You need to become very familiar with those, make sure they're the right ones, and then regularly look. Are we judging our success by the right things? Are these metrics determined by our customer, by our employees, by our stakeholders, by our shareholders? Figure out what you're calibrating against and regularly perform this OODA loop.
Exactly. Another one of mine and Tom's favorite phrases is, you're never too old to become what you might have been. Let's take an example. This actually happened 3 years after Richard W. Sears first got his shipment of watches in 1889. You can see there, this is a company called Nintendo. Nintendo is actually, it's a very old company. It was a card game business launched more than 100 years ago. But in the 1960s, they saw the writing on the wall. Even though they'd been operating for a long time, they knew that times change, and they knew that they needed to change with those times. So looking again at technology, they saw that the future was going to be in video games. So by the 1970s, the early 1970s, they'd already partnered with Magnavox, and they had created the first iteration of a game we call Duck Hunt today. It was very rudimentary. It didn't sell well, but they kept working at it and working at it. And eventually, we all know the success that became.
Pro tip, I recently found out player 2 controls the ducks.
Player 2 controls the ducks. That might be the most important thing you've heard.
An example a little more recent than Nintendo is one of Blueprint's first clients. This was a company that specialized in providing hardware, things like scales for commercial mining operations and waste management, things like that. Big heavy-duty rigs. And they were facing a decline in sales of their hardware, of their scales. And they asked Blueprint to create a web-based metrics dashboard, reporting dashboard. And they thought, if people can understand the value of the data coming out of the scale, they'll buy more of them. So can you create us a dashboard? So rather than charging off and building a dashboard, we said, well, what really is coming out of these scales? What kind of information are you collecting? And very quickly, we realized that the value was not in the cost of the hardware of the scales. The data was priceless. And this company had collected a wealth of historical telemetry data that was very valuable to the waste management and commercial mining industries. And our recommendation was, man, start giving your scales away for free and charge for the data. And it was interesting because we had no real experience in either of those industries, commercial mining or these giant rigs that my children play with. But we took the time to step in with an open mind, humbly understand what is the outcome that you're aiming for, and let's make sure we index to that, not just the solution that you think you want. And that allowed us to provide valuable insight to a company, let them adjust with the times, just like Nintendo, and be a valued partner. And we did our part, and then we moved on, and they were able to step into a new era of their business.
Those who change habitually are ready for the modernization forever world. So what do these individuals look like? They're always learning, not just new technology, but in all facets of their life. They never stop seeking to improve. They seek knowledge over certifications, but they seem to have a lot of certifications too. Secondly, they're always volunteering. You may have to tell them no sometimes to protect them from burnout. They seem to be about 20% of your staff, but they do about 80% of the work. And then thirdly, they really shine in pressure situations. They may say that they don't like pressure, but they always seem to be the one running into the fire and coming out on top, and your company gets the benefit from it.
So there it is, folks. All 6 steps, as promised. Step 1, know thyself. 2, use your words. Start looking at your problems as opportunities.
Aim. Remember to aim.
Don't be like us for the first bit of our lives. Number 5, get some friends. And number 6, modernize forever. This is a constant state that you want to stay in, not just a place that you're going to one day arrive.
Yes.
So if this rings true for you, we'd love to talk. This stuff is where we live. Whether you're looking for a partner to help plan, or you're trying to make sense of a million different licensing options, or maybe you've bought a bunch of tech, it's kind of in various states of disarray, and you're trying to figure out how to cut your losses and double down on the stuff that works well. Wherever you are in your digital transformation journey, workplace modernization journey, just trying to get cool, Blueprint would love to talk. We strongly believe in being industry agnostic, as we talked about. I don't care if it's commercial mining or gaming with Nintendo or healthcare. You start finding commonalities, common frustrations and challenges that stripe across all of those industries, whether you're a Microsoft shop or you're not.
We're looking forward to partnering with you. We want to not just sell you some technology, set it up and walk away. We want to know what your business is trying to accomplish and come up with an innovative way to see that business goal to fruition.
And to help you distinguish yourself from your competitors. So, 6 steps to get modern and live there. Thanks, everyone.